everyone, and this is Leah, the artist behind Elwoody Illustration, and today's video is going to be a little bit different than some of the other ones. I'm going to be going over all of the drawings that I did this month for Inktober, and talking a little bit about my experiences with 30-day challenges and the stuff that I did to help my 30-day challenge this year go a little bit more smoothly. If you'd like to see the time lapses behind this video, I will have a link in the description as well as a playlist at the end of the video showing all of the process that I did to make each of these drawings. Also, I'd like to add that all of the originals from this video will be for sale on my Etsy store. And I don't plan on making any reproductions or prints from these, so once they're gone, they're gone. I've already sold 2 of them to a local art collector. So if you like any of the originals that I will be showing in this video, please go to www.etsy.com/shop/Elwoody Illustration. Also, both the wood duck and the loon have been already sold. So let's talk a little bit about 30-day challenges. I've participated in 2 other Inktober's other than this one, and this is the first year that I've actually completed all 31 drawings for Inktober. So that was a pretty big feat, and there are a few things that I did to help that out. One of the big things that really helped me was making a list, and for this challenge I decided not to just follow the prompts but to come up with my own theme and write down each of the orders of birds that I wanted from the simplified classification, and then added a few others from the expanded classification. And then I wrote down what each order contained, because it's sometimes really hard to remember like what Trogoniformes means. So that in and of itself was helpful because it was something tangible that I could work off of. I noticed that a lot of artists that didn't do pre-planning for Inktober would get like a prompt like divided and just not know what to do for their Inktober, so having a good plan beforehand was really helpful. Lists are also really nice because like for me, I took my list and put it on my bulletin board, and every day I got the reward of crossing that off of my list whenever I completed one, and it made me feel really good about the challenge and a little bit less daunting. I also set some creative limits for myself, so not only did I want to do a bird, but I also wanted to put a unique shape behind the birds. So that was kind of the moment of, well, I know exactly what bird I need to do, but I also had to come up with some kind of shape that I thought would symbolize the bird and what would fit best for the composition. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is injecting a little bit of randomness into your 30-day challenges. I know that when I had completed my list and I was looking at it, I felt a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit anxious about trying to complete all of the things on the list. I just saw these birds and I just thought, how am I going to do this? So my solution for that was putting a number to each of the birds and then having a random number generator decide which bird I was going to do for the day. And so that took a little bit of the control out of my hands, but it also made the challenge feel a lot less overwhelming and a lot less daunting. It also felt really rewarding to roll up a new bird with the number generator after I had just completed one. So I would get done at the end of the day with my Inktober, and I could cross another bird off my list, and then I could roll another bird up for the next day and kind of think about what I was going to do for that. Another thing that really helps with 30-day challenges is picking a designated time to do your challenge. So I've watched a lot of Jake Parker's videos on time management, and one of the things that he mentions is doing your Inktober at a time when you are most productive. And I found that that didn't really work for me. So the past couple of years that I have done Inktober, I was in school for my bachelor's of zoology, and the only time that was really available to me was in the evenings after I'd done my homework at about 8 o'clock at night. And that was just something that I had to adapt to. And this year I decided to try and take his advice and work on my Inktovers during a period when I was more productive. So this year things are different because I'm graduated and I work full-time as an illustrator, so I pretty much draw all day. And when I tried to do the Inktober during a period I was most productive, I found that it was kind of turning my regular work into a drag because I was doing a really fun and relaxing exercise right before getting into another exercise where I had to think a lot about what I was putting down on the page and about what I had to do. So this kind of lasted for about a week, and then about halfway through the second week I decided to just switch back to doing the Inktobers in the evenings, and that worked a lot better for me because now I was doing a very relaxing activity at the end of my day, and I was using it as a way to wind down from all of the drawing that I had to do during the day. So I think just picking a time that works best for you and best for your life in general for doing a 30-day challenge is a good way of going about it. Another thing that can really help with a 30-day challenge, especially if you are busy and you're in school, is turning your Inktober into kind of an assignment for yourself. And just as an example, last year I was taking a class in comparative vertebrate anatomy, so I had to learn a lot of different body parts of animals, so I just decided to turn my Inktober theme into comparative anatomy. So every day I drew either like a bone or some embryology slides from the class during my free lab periods. That was a really good way of studying for one. So I would finish my Inktober and then label it, but it was also a good way of just learning the structure of different animals and improving myself. That particular Inktober was interesting. I mean, I probably could have finished all 31 drawings, but I was busy, and I also kind of did some things that were really detrimental to me finishing it. And that's the next point that I want to bring up is working at a consistent size. So you might notice that all of these drawings are about 8.5 by 11 or a little bit smaller, like 7.5 by 10. Last year when I was doing it, I decided to make this huge cat skeleton on 16 by 20 inch paper, and that easily turned from a one-day drawing challenge into a week's worth of work. So keeping it at a reasonable but consistent size is really helpful for when you're doing a 30-day challenge. Also, like, doing a really large ink drawing like that kind of misses the point of Inktober, because when you're doing it, you're supposed to be creating a new drawing every day, and I was spending a week working on this one big cat skeleton, so that's something else to keep in mind when you're drawing something for Inktober. The next thing that I want to talk about, which probably should go without saying, but I think needs to be said anyways, is don't hurt yourself over Inktober. The very first year that I did it, I actually ended up kind of hurting my wrist around day 27, and I just had to stop for that day and let it heal. Inktober is really supposed to be about like improving yourself, and causing yourself bodily harm because you really want to finish all of the drawings is not really a good way of going about it. So that brings me to my next point, which is feeling free to have skip days. When I was in school during the first 2 Inktobers, I did take a few skip days because of midterms and because of my wrist hurting, and I've noticed that a lot of the artists who do Inktober, they feel like if they miss a day that they have to make up for that day, and I don't really think that that's in the spirit of Inktober, because the whole point is to build up this habit of drawing once per day, or at least having that habit. So, you know, missing a day and then having that turn into 2 drawings per day can easily turn into having to do 3 drawings per day, and I think you should just be able to skip those drawings that you miss and say that you'll just do better the next day. And I think if you really want to get into art or illustration, that having that habit is a really good thing, but it's also something where if something does come up, then you should be able to take breaks. So that's pretty much all I have to say about doing 30-day challenges, and this has been a really interesting, really exciting time for me. I really enjoyed sharing all of these videos with you and going on this really interesting journey of drawing all of these birds in 1 month, especially because a lot of them are birds that I probably wouldn't have drawn otherwise. So it was as much of a learning experience for me, and I hope that you've all learned something too. So again, if you're interested in owning any of these, please go check out my Etsy store. They all should be live this Saturday. And if you like this video, please give us a like. Maybe put some comments below of what you would like to see maybe for next year's Inktober, and maybe even subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. So I hope to see you in the next video.